Hello guys, welcome back to our awesome series. And the last time out we're talking about variables, and I mentioned that variables are placeholders that are used to store information that can be referenced and manipulated within our computer program. I also mentioned that there are five basic types of variables within the coding system, and I mentioned that the constants are the type of variable that are statics. The global variables are the ones that are not within any function or method. The locals are the ones that are within the functions or the methods. The class and the instances are some other kind of variables that are not so used. And yeah, that was where we stopped. This time around, we'll be talking about data types. What are data types? So a data type refers to the type of value or variable a variable has, and what type of mathematical, relational, or logical operations can be applied without causing an error within your program. Now, you are looking at a variable which we just explained right now. Yeah, it's not just enough to have a variable in a strongly typed environment. So basically, you'll be hearing more of strongly typed or loosely typed and so on and mixed. Yeah. Now, the strongly typed environments are, or strongly typed languages are languages are that you must define the type of variables, the type of methods that you are declaring. You can't just declare any variable. You must define the type of variable that you want to declare. For instance, you want to declare a variable that has the name num. Now, for a strongly typed environment, you must define what type of variable is num. Is it an integer? Is it a string? All right. Now, to define the type, you have to know what data types are. Now, data type refers to the type of value that that variable can hold. Now, data type is a classification of data which tells the compiler or interpreter how the program will use the data of that variable. Now, let's see. We said here that we have basically four or five basic type of data. We have the string type, we have the character type, we have the integer, we have the float, we have the boolean. Now, let's understand what these things are. So when you declare a variable and it is a string type, it means it can take values like wordings, right? So a quick example here, I would say string name. Now, if I declare this variable as name and it is string type, it means the name must only be equal to first your double quotes this way, and you can have values in it. House Fleckman, for instance. Yep, so that is a name. Now imagine I said integer name, right? Now, saying integer name means name cannot be equal to anything in double quotes. This would be an error. Integer name means it can only take integers, and mind you, integers are whole number from 0 to 9. So it can either be 0, right, or 1, or 2, or even 12, or 1000, as the case may be. It can be only whole number. It can never be, I repeat, it can never be anything decimal or anything in double quotes. Double quotes refers to a string. And then we have the char. Now, char is just a single value, a single value. Now, the character type is, let's say, character switch, for instance. Okay, we can't use switch because I'll tell you why as time goes on, not in the studio close or in the PLT class, but when we try to work with other languages, I'll let you know why you can't use switch. It's something called keyword. So let's say character switch button, right? Now switch button has to be equal to something in single quote, and it has to be only one value from either 0 to 9 or A to Z, and it must just be one value. So if you say A, it can be AZ. AZ will be an error because character can only take only one value. It can either be A or a Z, or 0 or 1 or 5. It has to be just one character inside the single quote. Now the next type we have is the float. What is the float? When you say float has to do with decimal numbers or numbers with decimal points. So if you have float, let's say amount, cool. So it now means that our amount can only be equal to say 120.45. Good. This is not erroneous. Now, the beautiful thing about float is it can also take integers. The only problem now is when you're printing out this 120, it will print out something like 120.0. Yeah, it's telling you 0.0 because it is a float. It is not a normal number. If it's an integer, it will print it as 120 directly without the decimal point. Alright, we'll move on. The next is boolean. For boolean is simply true or false. So let's say boolean question, for instance. Now the question can either be equal to true or false. It can't be equal to false. This is an error. It can't be equal to true. This is an error because anything in double quote this way is a string, and here this can only be, for instance, age, and age is say 32 or 35 as the case may be. So this is how we use our data type. The data type defines what kind of value can be inside the given variable. This is a variable and this is a data type. This is a variable, this is data type. Alright, having known that, the next that we'll deal with is loops. What is a loop? A loop in programming is a sequence of instructions that will run continuously, repeated format until something breaks it, until certain condition breaks it. So let's say a loop is an English word that keeps looping and looping until something tells it to stop. Alright, so in programming we have three types of loop. We have the for loop, we have the while loop, and we have the do while loop. Okay, yeah, yeah, it seemed like we have two whiles, right? Okay, let's see what it looks like. So basically, when you say loop, for the for loop, you're saying for instance, int I equals to 0. So you are telling the loop start from 0, start looping from 0, and we're saying I should be less than say 100. Don't loop more than 100, and then I plus plus. I plus plus means start looping. Now this will keep looping until it reaches this condition of 100. Once it sees 99, it won't cross 99. It will stop exactly at 99. That is the breaking point for this loop. So let's say loop stops at 99. That is the breaking point. We'll call it breaker. Now for the while loop, okay, now while is defined this way. While you are saying keep do this until, now until has to be coming into this while, for instance, I um, is less than 100. So you have to still define the int I equals to 100 somewhere outside. So why I is less than 100, let's say you should keep saying I plus plus. I plus plus means keep incrementing I. Never mind, we'll come to what all of this is. But you're adding up I, you're looping I, adding 1 to I, adding 1 to I. From 0 it keeps adding 1, 2, 3, 4, and once it gets to 99 it breaks. So this is where the breaker happens. Once I gets to 99, it is less than 100. It won't get to 100 and it will break. Once it sees 100, it won't print 100, it breaks. So that is the while loop. Then last but not the least, we have the do. So it does this while. So the do while is almost similar to the while I less than 100. So you also have to define your int I equals to 0 above, and then you say I plus plus. So you see that it is just an interchange of the while loop. So this is just um, um, it's pretty much similar to the while loop, only but you're writing it in a different method. I hope this is clear and straightforward. Any question you have, try to leave it in the comment section and you're sure that I'm going to respond to the question. For now, we've come to the end of the series, the episode of this wonderful session. I hope to see you in the next episode and stay tuned. Ciao.